Happy Thursday and welcome into the PHNX Sun Devils show. I'm Anthony Totri. We got DJ Danielle behind the Mac. Let's get a little roll call going in the chat. I'm sure Donald is somewhere, LTC. Everybody, if you're new here, hit that like button. Leave a 5-star review if you're listening on audio. Tell us what you enjoy about this podcast. We got a jam-packed show for everybody today, and I'm going to do you a solid. We're not going to be talking anything that relates to Arizona State basketball today. It is all Arizona State football. Coach Kenny Dillingham speaking to the media really for the first time since the transfer portal opened, since we've seen Arizona State's success on early signing day. Dilly spoke this morning about a ton of things. He was asked about Sam Leavitt coming in, the quarterback competition with Jaden Rashada. He was asked about the incoming freshmen, maybe some of them that you will see having an early impact on this Arizona State defense specifically. And then, of course, talking about in-state recruiting and how the Sun Devils can get a whole hell of a lot better in 2025, in 2026. So the meat and potatoes of this show is we're going to be going and diving and taking a look into everything that Kenny Dillingham had to say, specifically some of the most important things that Dilly had to say after early signing day. And then, of course, with the transfer portal still open and Arizona State snagging a few incoming transfers. But some of the notes and takeaways from what Kenny had to say that we aren't going to necessarily dive too deep into is the fact that it doesn't feel like Arizona State is done adding. Arizona State and Kenny Dillingham still looking for some help at offensive tackle, so I fully expect this team to go in there in the transfer portal and continue to try and add maybe one or two offensive tackles. Now, at this point, the majority of the cream of the crop offensive tackles in the portal have already signed. They've already taken a lot of visits, but that doesn't mean there is not still talent out there. So I, again, fully expect Arizona State to make a play in the portal, whether that be for a JUCO guy, maybe that be for a Division II guy, and maybe try and go out there and get what's left of Division I offensive tackles in the transfer portal. Also, on the defensive side of the ball, would not be shocked to see Arizona State continue to add at linebacker and continue to add at defensive end. But again, it is going to be a waiting game to see what Kenny Dillingham and company do throughout the rest of the transfer season. Before you get to spring ball, another notable thing that you're not going to hear from what Kenny Dillingham had to say, but from the conversation on the interview this morning, was that it sounds like 8 to 9 of ASU's early signees will be enrolled at Arizona State during spring ball. So not all 17 guys, but it sounds like a good chunk of them will be there for spring ball, which we know is really, really important for their development, important for the competition, and really important for what Arizona State is going to try and be in 2024. But enough of me talking. Let's go ahead and see what Kenny Dillingham had to say right off the top about the offseason.
I thought our class, we got bigger up front and we got longer in the back end, linebacker included. And I think that was one of our goals, was to become a bigger defense, a bigger offense and bigger defense. We need to become a bigger team. The games that really got out of control for us were when we faced size. So we tried to attack that, to clean that up. So up front wise, we got a lot of guards and inside guys. We still have to address the tackle position. We signed one tackle, but we got to get more tackles in this next class and this next 2.5 weeks. At tight end, I think we got bigger, and we wanted guys who could put their hand in the dirt and block somebody and then be a threat in vertical play action. And I think we did that. And then we also got a guy who can flex out and kind of be a hybrid wide out tight end, which I think we got that too. So I think we got kind of the best of both worlds there. Wide receiver, somebody who gets open. I think we have some size and we have some speed on the roster. So we were really just the best available there. We didn't need to fill a specific spot. So I think we just took who we felt was the best player in that role, best players in that role. D-line, obviously we got to continue to get bigger. That's one thing. Ramar is going to be a gigantic kid, gigantic guy. He's still growing into his body, but that's got to be something we continue to address is the size. Our edge guys, very, very athletic. That was something I was very pleased with, was the athleticism we signed at edge. I think both those guys can rush the passer as freshmen in the Big 12. The ability to stop the run and play base downs will be, that's another question for them. But the ability to make an impact as freshmen on the edge on third down sub packages, I think are there. Both crazy explosive. Linebackers, obviously we signed, one and then a couple from the portal, but we wanted to get speed and athleticism. And then we still need to sign one guy who's a little bit bigger. So I think we got that with Martell. We got that with a couple of the transfers. And then back end, I think the back end was phenomenal, how we recruited the back end. The size, the speed, the length, the work ethic of those guys, the fact that they're all showing up early. Don't be shocked to see a wave of some of these young guys play for us in the back end early.
Now, it's interesting when you're making the inferences as Arizona State is adding these pieces as they're going along, right? As they pull players from the transfer portal, as they add to this class of 2024. But when you really dive into what Coach is saying here in terms of the type of player that they're going to get off the field, in the meeting rooms, yes, there's a certain X factor from a personality perspective, a certain love and passion for the game of football that you need to have if you are going to play for Kenny Dillingham here at Arizona State. That is clear. But taking a look at how this roster is being constructed, right? You look at some of the top teams in the nation. Again, teams that I've had the luxury of watching in practice, teams that I've watched in games on the field. LSU, Notre Dame, Florida State, those three specifically. The difference between those teams and Arizona State in years past, not just under Kenny, but under Todd Graham, under Herm Edwards, even prior to those guys, the size difference. There is a different level of athleticism. There is a sheer size gap when it comes to players in the past that would come play at Arizona State versus players that would go play at some of those other schools. The players, the defensive linemen, the offensive linemen that you are going and getting at LSU and Notre Dame, far different than the players that Arizona State in years past was going after. But you listen to Kenny talk about their targets in the transfer portal, their targets in the 2024 class. And what did he say? We want to get bigger, not just up front. We need to get bigger as a team. Why? Because those games against Utah, those games against Oregon, on the field, yes, you see the difference. You see the difference in skill. You see the difference in athleticism. Watching it on TV, it doesn't do it justice as to just the sheer size that some of these players at Oregon, in Utah, in Georgia, in Notre Dame, in all those schools. It doesn't do them justice to the size of those kids, right? You hear an Arizona State offensive lineman 6'3", 270. It's not a big dude. It's not a guy that can play tackle. He's not long enough. He's not big enough. He may be able to move his feet, but he doesn't fit the sheer size. If you put him at right tackle, left tackle, and he's going against an Oregon or even a UCLA defensive end, he's going to get cooked every play. Why? Not necessarily because of his skill, but there is a level of size that you have to play certain positions. Arizona State going after guys now in the portal, on early signing day, and in some of these classes, they're just looking to get bigger. They're looking to get longer, right? You can't have a 6'3" offensive tackle. It's not going to work. 6'5", 300 pounds, now we're talking. Now we're talking offensive linemen that you're going to see in the SEC. We're talking offensive linemen, defensive linemen that you are going to see in the Big 10, in the Big 12. If Arizona State wants to elevate the program, those are the type of players that you have to get. Now, there are people that are going to be like, okay, don't you need to get bigger at wide receiver? Don't you need to get bigger at running back? Well, not necessarily, right? Raleek Brown, for example, 5'9", $180. That's a small guy. But he's got the skill level in terms of speed, agility, shiftiness, that he can come in and be an immediate threat for Arizona State in the run game, right? So not only are you looking to add in size, which is, again, a big part of what Kenny Dillingham and company were trying to do in the portal, what they're trying to do with some of these recruits. But you also have to look on the back end in terms of versatility, right? Getting guys like Raleek Brown who can play wide receiver, who can play running back, right? You've got a running back in Scat. You've got DeCarlos Brooks. You added Jason Brown. You added Kyson Brown. You've got a bunch of running backs. Raleek Brown is going to have a role. Now, yes, he is more of a pass-catching back, but you could see him lining up in the slot. You could see him potentially lining up outside, maybe having an end around at some point, right? Because he provides that level of athleticism and versatility. Now, you look at, again, he didn't mention him by name, but you add a tight end like Jaden Fortier to the mix, a guy who is 6'5". As a freshman, he's still growing. Give him an offseason in Coach Joe's workouts. Now we're talking about a big dude, right? Big dude at tight end that put up numbers, the number one player coming out of Oregon, but can also line up outside. He can be that vertical threat like Kenny was talking about. You look at the linebackers that Arizona State tried to add or added, right? Zyrus from San Diego State, Jordan from Arkansas. Two guys that, again, have a lot of experience, very different experience. Jordan's got experience in the SEC, which is invaluable. And then you've got Zyrus coming from San Diego State, who, again, was the team MVP. Two guys that you feel confident in that can not only play the run, load the box, but you can also count on them to split out wide, maybe cover a tight end if they need to, depending on the tight end's athleticism that they're going up against, right? That's the type of player that Arizona State is going and trying to get. That's how you win in today's college football. You're not able to necessarily go out, just bring together a bunch of guys that were good at the high school level and get a bowl team. You can't do that anymore. And Arizona State understands that. Kenny Dillingham understands that. And part of it, right, you see the players that Kenny and company are adding now. They're going after the big ones in 2025. They're going to make splashes in 2026. And Kenny's talking about it, and we'll get to some of that in a little bit. But first, I want to tell you about our friends over at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. I brought it up the other day, but if you're looking for a place to spend your New Year's Eve, I honestly can't think of a better place than Gila River Resorts and Casinos, right? Being at a casino on New Year's Eve, ball drops, the vibes are immaculate. Maybe you're going to hit a jackpot or two. Nobody does it better than Gila River Resorts and Casinos. They offer an authentic and immersive experience. The dining ranges from upscale to approachable, not to mention their state-of-the-art gaming floor has it all with over 800 slot machines, 15 blackjack tables, and live table games, not to mention Arizona's largest casino sportsbook. Head to Gila River Resorts Casinos and let them show you what next level is all about. You do you at Gila River Resorts Casinos. Visit playathila.com for more details. Now, look, we've got a lot of football going on starting tonight through the weekend. You got Thursday night football. You got Saturday football. You got Monday football. You have it all, in the best place to make a little holiday cash is over on the BetMGM Sportsbook app. They've still got a great deal for you. If you haven't already signed up, it is super, super easy. Just download the BetMGM Sportsbook app on iOS or Android, or visit BetMGM.com. Sign up and deposit at least $10 into your BetMGM Sportsbook account. Place your first wager and receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if that bet loses. Now, if the bet does lose, your bonus bets will be available once your initial wager is settled. Just to recap, sign up for BetMGM. Use that bonus code PHNX. Place your first BetMGM Sportsbook wager through BetMGM Sportsbook mobile app of at least $10. And if that bet loses, your bonus bets will be available once your initial wager is settled. Check out the show notes for full details. And Nelson and Shane talk about the disclaimer.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Nevada, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus to wager. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help Michigan. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in D.C., New York, or Ontario.
Donald in the chat, I've heard rumblings. We'll get 1 and 2 in-state players next year. Interesting. Yeah, Cooper Perry, the number one player in the class of 2025, tweeted out a nice little forks up emoji or forkum with a question mark after Kenny was talking about making some splashes. So we'll see, obviously, what comes of that. And then there was, I believe, an offensive tackle at Brophy, who is just a unit, 6'5", 270 as a senior in high school, I believe. That'll be a rising senior that Arizona State also is going after per some reports. So it should be interesting to see Arizona State potentially make some noise in-state in that class of 2025. We got Clint in the chat. I always love when Clint is here. Forks up. We got an Oregon State Beavers fan in here with just one of the best YouTube profile photos I've actually ever seen. But getting back to Coach Kenny Dillingham and what he had to say this morning at the presser, he was asked, obviously, about recruiting. This is his first full cycle that he's had the opportunity to really go out, try and get some of those Arizona kids, venture off into other places like the PNW, like Oregon, like California, like Texas, to go out there and really go out and snag not just good players, but go out there and get some of the best players in those respective states. But recruiting is changing, right? The way that college football works now is not the way that it worked 3 years ago, and it's not the way that it's going to work in 3 years. So Kenny Dillingham had a lot to say about adapting and how recruiting is changing at ASU.
So you always have to adapt to the game that's changing. They went from an 85 counter to an unlimited counter. So what does that mean? It means you can oversign, because it means you have to anticipate your roster dwindling after spring ball. You can't just get to 65 or 70 and then 15 high school kids come and replace. You have to have a plan to always get 85 to 95 on your roster based off who you think may leave after spring. You have to be able to project. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck under numbers. And I think that's the challenge of it right now. I think being here a year allowed us to recruit better prospects, like more talent, more size, more speed. We weren't finding the diamonds in the rough as much. Always, we were finding these guys that we had to win some battles for. And those are the guys that have the measurables. But like I tell people, recruiting, if you're a good recruiter, it's not a 1 year process. It's a 3 to 2 year process. So your best class should not be year 1. It should not be year 2. It should actually be years 3 and 4. Because if you're not talking to somebody in the 26th class right now, if you're not having him call you, you can't call him. But if you're not slowly building that relationship today, somebody is. So I think the ability of the players we're going to be able to sign are going to get better. And, we were 3-9 and we still put together a really good class. Well, another year of relationships with guys and a better year on the field. I think the standard's is only going to get raised. I was talking to somebody before this call. We should be a top 2 team in recruiting, top 3 team in recruiting in this league. I don't think we did a great job. I thought we were average, and I don't know exactly where we finished up, but I think it was the top half. Like, that's the standard, is I want to finish 1 through 3 and with guys that we evaluated that were good enough and finish 1 through 3 every year. And we're not there yet.
Kenny obviously isn't happy with where the Sun Devils are, and that should excite you, right? That should excite Arizona State fans to see that there's a coach that is leading this program that believes that Arizona State can be more than it is now and more than it's been in the past. That should, again, excite Sun Devil fans that you have a coach that is willing to go above and beyond, that wants to be a 1, 2, or 3 in the Big 12, not only in transfer rankings, but also when it comes to recruiting. Right now, I want to focus a little bit on what Kenny had to say in terms of the process of recruiting. The reason that you see maybe Jed Fish specifically at Arizona have a little bit more success when it comes to recruiting in state. Well, like he said, it is not just a 1 year process. It is a 2-3 year process. And something interesting that he said is you're going to go get these kids. You're going to develop the relationships with these kids, but it takes time. But just because a Cooper Perry in next year's class potentially commits out of state doesn't mean that you abandon that relationship, because what do you see in today's college football? What do you see in today's college basketball is players are so eager, they're so willing to enter the transfer portal that it really does come down to, oh, we've got a relationship with this guy already. It didn't work out at the previous school. Maybe I'll go give it a shot. Frankie Collins for Arizona State basketball, case in point. I know I said I wasn't going to talk ASU basketball, but here we are, right? Frankie Collins originally going to Michigan. ASU was recruiting Frankie Collins really, really hard. Bobby Hurley wanted Frankie Collins to be an Arizona State Sun Devil. Now, he obviously wasn't initially, but when Frankie entered the portal, where did he end up? He ended up at a place that showed that they cared about his growth, his development, him as a person and as a player. And that's what you have with Kenny Dillingham and the staff. This is why you see Kenny and these guys being so generous on social media with guys leaving the program or guys opting to go to other places instead of Arizona State right out of high school, because those relationships should be long-lasting. Even if you get to a point, not where Arizona State is now in terms of getting a one-year guy, but in terms of the way that Arizona State has gone about getting the transfers that they have now. You look at Brian Carrington. You look at Rashad Samples. You look at Sean Aguano. These are guys that have developed relationships out of Arizona for a long time now, so that when those guys do enter the portal, they come to Arizona State. Cam Scatteraboo, another case in point, right? Went to Sac State, enters the portal. Okay, well, where can I go succeed? I've seen transfers have some success at Arizona State, specifically at running back. Let's give it a shot, right? DeCarlos Brooks, even more of an example, has that relationship with Coach Sean Aguano out of high school, enters the portal after his time at Cal. Where's he going to go? He's going to go play at Arizona State for his high school coach, right? So there are different levels to it. There's that relationship. They're seeing that transfers can come, have immediate success. Huge. And now the question is, when you're looking at Arizona State specifically, what types of players are you going to get in the portal versus the players that you are going and getting out of high school? Is Arizona State going to go out there and get a senior quarterback with 1 year left? Fans might want that. But is the program ready for that? Is that what Kenny Dillingham and company are ready for at this moment? The answer to that question is no. But don't take my word for it. This is what Kenny Dillingham had to say in the difference in recruiting transfers and recruiting high schoolers.
Because so many young high school kids transfer. So I think you can't put a transfer kid in a bottle that all transfer kids are the same. A transfer with 4 years left is a freshman. So you have to put that kid in a different category. A transfer with 3 years left, he's kind of a freshman. He's an NFL freshman if the guy plays 3 years and leaves. So I don't think you can put, we take a priority in high school, we take a priority in the portal. I think you said we take a priority in age groups. How are we balancing our roster with ages? Some positions you can, some positions it's harder to, but I would say that's really, when you look at what we're trying to do, we don't like to take a lot of 1-for-1s out of the portal. That's not the model that I want to create. Maybe in 2 years from now, when we're a one player away from saying, if we get this guy, holy cow, and we have a strong enough culture in place, yes. Right now, maybe 2-3 guys, maybe that have 1 year left. We're going to take guys that can help build this thing, 2 years, 3 years out. So in years 3 and 4, we're firing on all cylinders.
Now, again, that's in being a coach trying to build something in the fan perspective. And I want to use one specific transfer player to kind of make this argument or have this conversation, right? We're going to talk about Ty Thompson, the quarterback from Oregon that entered the transfer portal, got the Arizona connections, got the Kenny connections. It makes sense. It makes sense from a fan perspective, from an outside perspective. Hey, this kid's talented. This is a talented quarterback that you could come bring in, play a year, play maybe 2, depending on eligibility. I don't know the exact amount of eligibility that Ty Thompson has left. But from a fan perspective, that's your guy. You're going and getting a guy that's been the backup at Oregon for how many seasons? And you can bring him into ASU. Not ready for that. The program's not ready for that. The culture is not ready for that. And that's what you see with a lot of these players that left, right? The players that entered the portal with that 1 year left of eligibility, there's an understanding that, yes, there's excitement around Arizona State. Yes, there is excitement about Kenny Dillingham and the staff. It is not a team. It is not a program. It is not a culture yet that is going to go out there and be college football playoff ready yet. That takes time. You look at the example that Kenny has used time and again. Take your pick. Do you want to go with the bamboo argument, or do you want to go with the Florida State example? Because Florida State in year 2 of Norvell, they weren't a college football playoff team. Pretty sure they were a 5-6 win football team. Now, that should be, from an outside perspective, the expectation for Arizona State is bowl game or 5 wins next season. That should be the expectation. Now, there are obviously people in the locker room, the players, they're shooting for more than that. They're shooting to be that college football playoff team. And credit to them. You don't want guys in your locker room that aren't going to be having that mentality. But from a realistic standpoint, that is where this program is at right now. You don't got the 1 year left of Jordan Clark. You don't got the 1 year left of Jalen Conyers. You don't got the years left from BJ Green because they have that understanding, right? That this is still a process. Yes, year 1 happened. You don't go from 3-9 to CFP in a season. It just doesn't happen, right? And if it does, my goodness. I know Kenny's already got a long contract, but slap on a few more years if that's the case. You have to understand that this takes time. Kenny understands that, and I think so does the rest of the staff, and a lot of the media have that understanding as well, that when Kenny is pulling from these recruits, and that's why he talks about going out and making a splash in 2025, specifically locally, because you understand that that culture should be developed. That culture should be there. The mentality of the defense, the passion on the offense will be there this season, right? So you have to have that understanding. Look, there are 2 more clips that we're going to get to from Kenny Dillingham that I think, again, if you're an ASU fan, you definitely want to stick around and take a look at to what Kenny had to say. But before we do that, I've had this holiday scratcher right here, and I've been dying. I've been absolutely dying to scratch one of these because I haven't scratched one in a minute. It's from Arizona Lottery, and these are the types of holiday scratchers that you need to be putting in your stocking stuffers for sure. They make the absolute best gifts for somebody on your Christmas list that has absolutely everything. Dad, I'm talking to you. Fully expect a couple holiday scratchers in your stocking because that's just what I'm going to do. Now, if you've never done these, they literally, you can go to a Circle K and you can get them for like $1. And they've got top prizes up to $500,000, which I don't know about you, but that sounds like you're getting your money's worth, especially if you win. So I need to get the stupid little prize box. You guys watching me? You guys watching me scratch off this Arizona Lottery? I didn't win. But it's okay because like I said, they're only $1 and they've got top prizes up to $500,000. That's what you're taking from me? That is absolutely crazy. Go out and buy your holiday scratchers today. Find a retailer like our friends at Circle K near you at ArizonaLottery.com. You do got to be 21 or older to play, and we brought it up. Circle K. I stop there every single day for an energy drink and a snack. I'm literally there probably twice a day because I start the day with the energy drink and I get the snack on my way home. They are America's thirst shop. They're PHNX's thirst shop. They are Totri's thirst shop, and they've got a new free membership program that's going to help you guys save money every single day. Now, initially, when you sign up, you guys can save 25 cents per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups, and then after that, save 3 cents per gallon every day. Now, you might be listening on audio, you're watching, and you say, you know what, Anthony, that's just not enough. Well, I'm here to tell you there's more. Get every 6th free on a selection of Circle K products. We're talking pizza, we're talking coffee, ice cold fountain drinks, and more. Go ahead and join Inner Circle for free by downloading that Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for more details. Now, we just finished talking about transfers, right? Well, one of the most notable transfers that Arizona State got was quarterback Sam Leavitt, the Michigan State transfer, coming over to ASU. Obviously, there was initial rumblings and people were scared that Jaden Rashada was going to go and he was going to head to the portal and he was going to leave Arizona State because the Sun Devils were adding a quarterback. Well, Kenny was asked straight up about what went into going and adding Sam to this roster, and this is what he had to say.
My exit interview with Jaden, I said, hey, I'm going to take a transfer quarterback to compete. We need competition in that room. We need more depth in that room. And he was like, I'm not scared of competition. It's great. It's what you want. The recruitment of Sam was, hey, come in here and compete. Well, where else are you going to going to come in here and compete? And I told them both, I was going to take an older kid. And then when Jaden said he wasn't scared of competition and Sam was close to not being scared of competition, and he hopped in before that moment, I'm like, wow, I have 2 freshmen who are both really talented players who aren't scared to compete with one another. Man, how often do you get that? How often do you get 2 top 15 players in the country at their position not scared to compete? I said, I don't need a senior. We'll take these 2 guys and I'll ride or die.
That should fire you up. That should fire you up when your head coach says, I don't need a senior. Got these 2 young bucks in there. We'll roll with them and we'll ride or die, right? And again, the quarterback competition is going to be fun. It is going to be something to keep your eye on all offseason, all spring, all fall camp, all Camp Tantazona. Because you do have these two young guys that are very capable of going out there and developing into stars in the Big 12. I firmly believe that. I firmly believe that you've got two very talented guys. This is not like years past. Sam Leavitt is not Paul Tyson. Sam Leavitt is not Blake Barnett. He is a far better prospect than both of those transfers coming to Arizona State. Now he's transferring from Michigan State. Those other two transferred over from Alabama, and everybody lost their shit. Everybody lost their mind when Arizona State added Paul Tyson, when Arizona State added Blake Barnett. You know what those guys have in common? They did absolutely jack shit at Arizona State. Manny Wilkins remained the starter for Arizona State. And when Paul Tyson got here, he lost out to Trenton Bourguet. That was it. Trenton Bourguet and Emory Jones. Paul Tyson was not a good quarterback. Now you're here, and there are going to be ASU fans that are concerned with that Arizona State hasn't necessarily had success when it comes to transfer quarterbacks, right? Case in point, Drew Pine last year. Well, Drew Pine's not really playing football anymore. He's back at Notre Dame finishing and getting his degree there. Jacob Conover is what it is, right? So this is really Arizona State and Kenny Dillingham's first opportunity to really sit there and develop two very talented quarterbacks. Both have different skill sets. And now you've got a new offensive coordinator. You've got new weapons. You've brought in somewhat of an offensive line. The defense reloaded. Like, it should be an exciting season, and you should see Arizona State elevate. This is not a 3-win football team this year. I'm going to tell you that right now, okay? I'll tell you that right now without even seeing a practice, because I know what Kenny Dillingham is as a coach. I know what the staff is, and we've seen guys. We've seen returners. We've seen Elijah Badger. We've seen Cam Scattaboo, right? We've seen Ed Woods. We've seen Jaden Rashada. Now, develop. Take that game to the next level. Jaden Rashada specifically elevated his game out of his mind from that very first spring practice to the last practice before week 1. Crazy development. Now let's see what it looks like through a whole offseason. Now, not only what does his development look like through an offseason, but what are we talking about in sports all the time? Iron sharpens iron, right? You hear runners talk about it all the time, right? Where they'll run on a track, and the best ones, the best athletes hate it. They hate being the ones in front of everybody else by a mile. Why? Because that's what they've done their entire life. That's what Jaden Rashada has done his whole life. Jaden Rashada has been the best quarterback everywhere he's gone his whole life. Sam Leavitt, coming out of Oregon, coming out of high school, was a top prospect. Was one of the best prospects out of Oregon at the quarterback position. He played games at Michigan State. Wasn't necessarily the starter all season long. Talented kid. Now you've got two guys that, again, if you want to use that track example, you don't have Jaden Rashada like you did last fall running away with it, where you've got guys laps and miles behind him. Now you've got a guy in Sam that is going to push him. He's going to push him to be better, to run faster, to do everything better, right? Because you always constantly have that thought in the back of your mind, what if Sam beats me out? What if Jaden beats me out, right? These are young guys. This is the difference in having two freshmen versus having a senior, right? The expectation is the senior's going to come in, play their 1 year. The freshmen, the young guys are going to sit behind them. They'll learn for a year. Then it's their team after that. Now you got two guys. It's open. The keys to the Arizona State football program are dangling in front of these two quarterbacks. One of them, by the end of spring ball, I would say, is probably going to have maybe not the keys, but he's going to be leading the race. I don't expect this to be a full-on head-to-head quarterback battle even the entire way, because you've got two young guys that, again, are going to be pushing their limits. And I can't wait to see it. Another thing that I can't wait to see that Kenny was talking about is the fact that he wants to recruit Arizona even harder. Donald brought it up, right? The Sun Devils are going to be making some splashes in 2025, not just 2025, but 2026 locally. Because Kenny Dillingham, everybody's talking about standing on business these days. He's standing on business when it comes to recruiting Arizona locally. And again, you best believe that he's irritated He's been pushed to the limits by Jed Fish being able to recruit Arizona, by other universities out of state getting some of the top talent in Arizona. How does Arizona State win the Big 12? How does Arizona State be a top 1, 2, or 3 team in recruiting and transfer rankings every single season? How do they do it? Well, get the kids here. Get the kids locally. Because, look, I've lived in Indiana. I've covered high school football in Indiana. I've covered high school football in Michigan. I've seen it, right? That level of football versus California high school football versus Arizona high school football versus Texas high school football. Night and day. Night and day. The kids in Indiana, the kids in Michigan wouldn't touch the field here. They wouldn't. That's why you've got some of those other schools, those other universities going out there and getting high-level talent. High-level talent. For example, Keely Ringo played his high school football in Arizona. Went to Georgia. Now with the Philadelphia Eagles, I believe. Right? Denzel Burke played his high school football in Arizona. Brophy, then Saguaro, now is the number 1 cornerback for Ohio State. Right? There are guys here. Bijan Robinson, Tucson, South Point Catholic. Went to Texas, running back for the Atlanta Falcons. There's talent here. And Kenny Dillingham is going to recruit Arizona hard. Hard. And again, if you don't take my word for it, this is what Dilly had to say about recruiting guys in state.
Yeah, I always knew it takes 2 years. I wasn't concerned. I mean, yeah, we did everything we could. I think we sent the whole house to go see a specific prospect in state, just to show the commitment to the state, the whole team, or the whole coaching staff. But I knew year one, you only have 1 year to build a relationship, and it's harder to do that with an in-state kid. So year two, we've been on these guys, for almost 2 years now by the time they sign. So we would have had even of a shake as anybody to get guys here. So I anticipate us making a few splashes with the top dudes in the state this year. That's what I hope for. That's what my expectation is. And if we don't, it's I failed when it comes to recruiting in state, and then we'll have to reevaluate our process, because I'm pouring everything I can into the state, into recruiting the state. So when you get 2 years to recruit a kid, 2 years to recruit a class, if you're not getting those guys, then there's a bigger, deeper issue of why you're not. And then you have to reevaluate that. But I fully anticipate making waves in this year's class in Arizona, being in, year two of this cycle. So I'm actually fired up about it. It's the beginning of what I know you can do here. And there's certain kids in particular that can actually change the game. And for us, not just now, but forever, they can change the game forever. And
people don't get it. In the end of that clip, Kenny says they know who they are. Donald brought it up. Cooper Perry, the offensive tackle at Brophy. Those are two guys. You go get them. They change Arizona State forever. They really do. Because you're getting the number one player in Arizona at a skill position to stay home. That's huge. That is huge. What does that say? What is that message to the rest of the high schools out in the state of Arizona? To Saguaro, to Shap, to Brophy, to all of them, to Chandler. What does it say when the number one player at a skill position stays home and opts to be an Arizona State Sun Devil? It says, sound the alarms. The Sun Devils are here. We want to play locally. Why? We don't need to go play at Ohio State. We don't need to go play at Georgia. We don't need to go play at LSU. We don't need to go play at Florida State. We could play at Arizona State, right? That's what it says when you go out and you get the number one player in the state of Arizona. When you go get a high-level offensive tackle that's 6'5", 300 pounds. In state, that's what it says. It says, we're going to be great here. We believe in this coaching staff. We don't need a Brian Kelly. We don't need a Ryan Day. We don't need a Nick Saban. We don't need a Dan Lanning. We don't need a Chip Kelly. Now, Chip Kelly probably doesn't belong with those other names, but it says that Kenny Dillingham's that guy. It says that they believe in this staff and that they can do it here. That's important, right? Because how long? Not just the Arizona Wildcats, and not trying to take a shot at them here, although I do love it. Not just the Arizona Wildcats, but the Arizona State Sun Devils. For how long? For how long has the top talent gone elsewhere? Because they didn't believe in Arizona State. They didn't believe in college football success in the Valley. That changes. That changes when you've got top players saying, you know what? Again, I don't need to go to Ohio State. I don't need to go to Florida State. I can do it here. I could be successful here. Now, I'm not saying that Arizona State is going and going to win a national title in 2-3 years. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that they're going to be in the same conversation as an Ohio State or a Florida State or a Georgia. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is there's the belief that they can be great here, right? That's what I'm saying. And that's what it signals when a Cooper Perry says, you know what? I've got a bunch of Division I offers to go play for some really, really great universities that have proven that they can do it. But I believe in this guy. I believe in the relationship that we formed. That's the message that gets sent when Arizona State potentially goes out there and gets some top players from the state of Arizona. And look, if there's anybody to believe in that's gonna, again, stand on business, it is Kenny fucking Dillingham. Okay? Look, we're going to continue this conversation in a second, but first I want to tell you about our friends over at Shady Rays. Donald brought it up. I wasn't wearing the Shady Rays today. They are in my car. And look, I just didn't want to stunt on everybody in the office. I didn't want to stunt on everybody while I was walking up here because Shady Rays do that. Shady Rays, people will literally stop me. They'll be like, dude, where'd you get those sunglasses? I'll be like, Kierland Commons, Shady Rays. Go check them out. They've got the best sunglasses, and they've got one hell of a deal for you guys. You can shop the entire collection at their brand new location, Kierland Commons, a full-stop shop for all things Shady Rays. And if you don't love your Shady Rays, exchange for a new pair or return them for free. Within 30 days, there is no risk when you shop. Their team always has your back. And it is the holiday season, so take advantage of this offer exclusively for our listeners. Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Go to shadyrays.com and use that code PHNX for 50% off 2+ pairs of polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself. The shades rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people. Donald in chat, no, it's because you didn't take a poll from Tito's. Yeah, Donald bringing up the, what's it called? The post-game show from last night. I did have a handle of Tito's in front of me, and I opted not to take a poll because I really, really did not want to, okay? I hate vodka. That was the aftertaste of last night's game. It was just a straight pull of Tito's, and it sucks, to be honest with you. I hate vodka, but I do love Desert Financial Credit Union. They're the official retail banking partner of Arizona State University, and for more than 84 years, Desert Financial has been Arizona's largest, most trusted local credit union dedicated to creating exceptional experiences by giving back to the community and providing financial solutions that make lives better. Look to Desert Financial for checking and saving accounts, mortgages, loans, credit cards, investment options, and more. Now is the time to show your ASU team spirit. Open a free checking account online and get $200 plus your choice of 3 Arizona State University Visa debit cards. Go to desertfinancial.com/ASU to get started. Yeah, look, there is obviously going to be excitement about ASU this season, rightfully so, because of the recruiting class, because of the incoming transfers. Set the expectation. Set the expectation now. You got to be realistic. There's always going to be a team that does more than expected. Arizona State can be that. But again, you're pushing for bowl eligibility this year. You go from 3 wins to 6 wins. Then we're talking. Then you're talking, okay, now in that 2025, now we can, go get some of these kids. We can go get a splash. But that's how important this season is. Last year, you could throw it away. There were people, fans, you could throw it away. It was important last year for the locker room. Less important, I would say, to go out and make noise for recruits. Yes, you turn on the tape for transfers. You're like, yes, you could be successful here from a numbers perspective. Yes. This season is going to be important for furthering that development, furthering that growth, furthering that culture, right? That is what you want to see. And if you're a class of 2025 kid, a class of 2026 kid, you want to see that, right? To have that belief, to have, that spiel that I just kind of ranted about come to fruition, you have to go out there and you have to elevate. You can't win 3 games again. You can't win 4 games. You got to win more than that because people want to see results now. Yes, you can go from 3 wins to 4 wins, and technically you got better. But in the age of the transfer portal and NIL, You have to prove and show that you can be more than what you were the year before. And again, I firmly believe that Kenny Dillingham and company are going to do that. Blake in the chat asking, any rumors on when the schedule comes out? No, I will check and I will get back to you on social media. And again, it's an exciting time to be an Arizona State fan in terms of football. Like I said, we're not going to be talking about basketball right now. We're not going to be talking about basketball at all because that almost brings a tear to my eye. It really does, especially in the holiday. It's a happy season, holidays. We're not going to be talking about ASU basketball right now. We don't need to be doing that, but that will do it for today's show. Guys, if you enjoyed the content, do me a solid. Just me, okay? Look me in the eyes. Hit that like button, okay? It's right there. Just hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Give the program a follow on social media at PHNX_Sun Devils. You can follow me at Anthony_Totri. I'll be sure to provide you guys, again, any updates that I see in here as it relates to Arizona State football, basketball, hockey, volleyball, the athletic director search, all of it. You could also follow DJ Danielle at Abracadanielle on social media. And guys, we will be back Friday, last show before the holidays. Be there or be square, 12:30 on Friday. In the meantime, go Devils and peace.
We all silly like the mayor.